Today I'm going to show you how to set up the CNC4A style of limit switch home switch. This rod has a groove in it. There's a micro switch with a roller in there sitting up like such. As the rod moves in and out, the roller travels up the slot and down the slot. These are the stops, and I'm just going to set the distance from here to here today for the stops. So you can set them accurately. Vernier caliper, digital caliper, multimeter. It's set to continuity. This is a Tandy or a Radio Shack multimeter. You set it to the ohms, then you just flick the switch across to continuity, and what that means is that when there's a circuit, it buzzes. So I'll just move it out the way. So if you don't have one, you can use a light and a globe. The cable runs through there. I use this style of cable, single core shielded, and I use the center core to carry the signal and the shield to return it. So today this is the other end of it. I'll just set one end up and set the other end up. Okay. Check that it's working. Right. So the range is from there to there. So if you can see the travel, well, I'll shift this up. So I have, say, 2 to 3 mil of travel. So it needs to be in that center position. So I need to adjust the springs on the other end so as it sits in the middle. This is the other end. It's got 3 stops. The inner stop is for the table travel in this direction. These 2 outer stops apply pressure to the rod and also adjust the center position. So as we saw before, was not working properly. Okay. So that rod needs to be pulled in that way more, which means this one must apply more pressure. Or we can perhaps loosen this one. I had designed this so as to, when this rod is at the end, it is in line with the roller. So push in that direction, contact. Push in that direction, contact. Now the reason why I had so much travel is it's then easier to adjust this end of the tension. So that's okay. Nip that one up. And that one okay? We'll nip that one up. Do a couple of tests to make sure it doesn't stick. You need to oil these, keep them oiled. So that's in position. I use this style of clamp that has a scallop taken out, and these two halves lock on to the side of the rod. Extremely strong. Alright, so we've set up that, didn't take long. Test it. It's also accessible from the outside of the table, so it's not stuck in under here. I have designed a cover to go across that, but that's another video. So that's the stop position setup. Now to set this stop, I want to have a 5mm gap between these two surfaces. So just measuring the position of the ball nut, it's roughly 75. I want 5mm, so that makes it 80. So I just set this face there to here to roughly 80. This is for the test. I just wind it by hand. I'll switch on the continuity and I can tell when this starts to move. Just turn it now slowly. There it is. So the gap's pretty close to 5. So that's basically set. I like to register a physical dimension on the machine that I can use for reference. So that's 17.08mm. So I can write that down. Then in future, if I just want to check to see if the limit switches have shifted position, I just have to measure that. And as you know, these verniers are not that accurate. But that's set now. So I'm happy with that. Now I have to adjust the rear one. Now the gap to the ball nut, 126. Now if I want that to hit that there needs to be 126. Now it is now 146, so that will stop 20mm away. If I want to have it say stop 10mm away, I now have to readjust these ones. Shift them back in to add more compression and to then balance it in the center. So they are, what are they? 90 now. So I can move this one 5 and 5. That's why you use the same type of springs on both ends. So I can move them in 5 and 5. So it will stay center, and I then can just move this up. Well, I actually need to move this one up 10, don't I? So this one has to go up 10 and this one has to come up 10. And this is the limit switch and these are the stops. As you now can tell by the ringing, the buzzing, I've set these stops. So going back, 125. So we know that this one needs to be 125, which is now here, and 10. Now the trick here, it's when it goes off, so there's some trouble. So you hold it in position, and we'll make it 130. And the other bit about this method is that you can get your vernier to say you set it up and it's 21mm or 21.5mm. You just have to measure your gap here, say right, it's 21, subtract your 1.2mm, whatever it is, and then just shift this one up, and you can do it to the thousandths of an inch without even testing it on the machine. So I now just wind it up and see how we go. As I just bring it to final position, I don't know if you can see it, but it's 1, 2, 3, roughly 13mm from that face to there. So I can accurately measure that now with some slip gauges or a bit of rod that can fit in. Then I know if I want 10 and it's 13, I then just have to shorten that gap by 3mm and I'll have my 10mm stop. But I'll leave that at the moment at 13 and see how the rest goes. But I did extend it, so I do want a bit more travel. But I want to see how much overrun there is with a fully loaded table, because you don't want your table slamming into there. So that's the quick and easy way to set up your CNC4A limit switch and home switches. Then it's just a matter of doing the same on the other axis and just set it all up before the machine even runs. Quite simple, quite easy. Highly recommended.